Hello everyone, my name is DECANO from BSCE 3A. I will be the first presenter of Group 2 and we will be discussing the topic Traffic Engineering, focused on traffic characteristics. So let's start. Traffic engineering is a branch of civil engineering that utilizes engineering techniques to achieve the safe and efficient movement of people and goods. Unlike the other branches of civil engineering like structural engineering, environmental, or water resource, yung traffic engineering is more focused on the design, development, or construction and maintenance of roads and highways. We also have here the scope of traffic engineering. We have traffic characteristics, traffic studies and analysis, traffic operation control and regulation, planning and analysis, geometric design, and lastly, we have administration and management. So, as I said in the introduction, yung topic namin will only be revolving around traffic characteristics. So, traffic characteristics, these are the vital parts and prerequisites for any improvement of traffic facilities. This means that these characteristics are the factors that should be taken into consideration when building or designing any traffic facilities or yung roads, yung highways, bridges, and stuff like that. So these characteristics will give us an overview of the environmental and the factors that should be considered in traffic engineering, just like as I said. For traffic characteristics, this can further be classified into two. We have road user characteristics and vehicular characteristics. For the road user characteristics, we have physical, mental, psychological, environmental, and for vehicular characteristics naman, we have static and dynamic. Yung video ko or yung discussion ko will only be about physical characteristics now. So yung iba, this will all be covered by my other group mates. Let's proceed. Physical characteristics can also be divided into two. We have the permanent and the temporary factors. For the permanent factors, we have vision, hearing, strength, judgment power, and reaction power. For the temporary naman, we have fatigue, alcohol or drugs, illness and disability, anger or any emotion, climate, season, and time. Vision, this tells us how good the eyesight of the user is. This can sometimes be referred to as peripheral vision or the total visual field for the eyes. So this tells us na yung vision or yung sense of seeing natin is very important in traffic engineering. Yung angle of peripheral vision natin dito, a normal person should have an angle or a horizontal angle of peripheral vision of 160 degrees or any value close to that. Yan yung kayang tingnan ng mata natin horizontally. And yung vertical naman is 115 degrees or again, any value closer than that. Any value na significantly lower than the average peripheral vision of a person can have a big effect on the road user. For vision, we also have eye movement or yung kung meron tayong problema sa pagtingin sa paningin natin, yung kung masyadong magalaw yung mga mata natin. We also have color vision or the ability to differentiate colors. This is very useful in identifying road signs and yung road lights natin, yung traffic lights. We also have glare vision. This is when a bright light occurs in a field of vision of the user. It can cause discomfort and a decrease in the visibility of objects. Example natin dito, yung kapag nakatingin ka sa malakas na ilaw and then tumingin ka sa ibang bagay, parang there is a tendency that the effect of the light remains in our eyes, so yung visibility ng ibang objects will most likely decrease. We also have depth perception. Yung first picture natin dito shows the angle of perception of the road user or an individual. And we have here the different colors and yung example natin ng glare vision. fact lang, I don't know if this is a fun fact, but yung peripheral vision natin is inversely proportional to the speed by which we are moving. For yung picture natin dito on the left side shows us the person moving with a velocity of 15 to 25 kilometers an hour. So kung makikita natin yung peripheral vision niya or yung part na malinaw, much bigger siya compared to the peripheral vision of the same person moving at a faster velocity of 70 kilometers an hour. Ibig sabihin, kapag mas mabilis yung paggalaw mo, yung peripheral vision mo o yung visual field ng mga mata mo is getting smaller. Yung picture naman dito sa baba, this shows us some road signs or warning signs. This tells us how important the vision of a road user is when using the roads. The next factor, we have hearing. This is an important factor that affects the physical capabilities of the road user. It is used to identify warning signals. These signals are usually given by police mobiles or ambulances or yung merong mga sirens. So kapag narinig mo yung siren, that is a warning na there's a certain vehicle that is approaching. So for pedestrians, hearing is also very important to know if vehicles are approaching, especially when the vehicle is coming from your back or kapag hindi mo siya nakikita. So kapag mahina yung hearing mo, there is a possibility na ma-involve ka sa accident. The next one, we have strength. A road is an exhausting place. Kapag nasa kalsada tayo, mapapansin natin na mabilis tayo mapagod. Driver man tayo o pedestrian or commuter. So it consumes a lot of energy. This means that older people might find themselves more prone to road accidents because older people they are more likely to lose energy faster than younger ones. Strength is also important in maneuvering large or heavy vehicles like trucks or yung vehicles na ginagamit natin in building structures. So hindi pwede dun yung lalamya-lamya. Next one, we have judgment and reaction power. Yung judgment is the ability to judge or interpret different traffic situation, and yung reaction power naman natin is the ability to understand and react to different situations as fast as possible. Kapag nasa kalsada tayo, it is very important na mabilis tayo mag-react in different situations because that can cause us an escape to an accident. Yung next natin, we have PIEV theory. This is connected to the judgment and reaction power na diniscuss natin. What is PIEV theory? According to this theory, the total reaction time of a driver is split into 4 parts. We have yung P, I, E, and V. Yung perception time, intellection time, emotion time, and volition time. Dito sa illustration natin, makikita natin yung flow of information from the stimulus na pupunta sa brain hanggang sa response na gagawin natin. So, yung stimulus or yung signals that we get from the environment using our senses will be transported to our brains, and the time it took for the stimulus to reach our brain, we call that the perception time, or yung defined dito as the time required for our senses to transmit information to our brains. So kapag yung information nasa brain na natin, magsisimula na yung processing, and yung time it took for our brain to process the information is referred to as the intellection time. Or sabi dito, it is the time taken to understand the situation. In addition, kapag yung information ay tapos nang i-process sa brain, then meron pa rin tayong idadagdag na time, and we call that the emotion time, or the time elapsed during emotional sensations with reference to the situation. So kapag meron kang naramdamang takot or anger or any emotion, madadagdagan pa yung oras ng pag-process ng brain mo ng information. So after the brain process the information and na-interpret na niya yon, the brain will devise a response, and the time it will take before the actual response, we will call that the volition time, or sabi dito, it is the time taken for the final or before the final action. So we have here an example where we will get the lag distance or the distance traveled during the perception reaction time. So yung example problem natin dito, a driver with perception reaction time of 2 seconds is driving at 55 miles an hour when he sees an accident blocking the road ahead. Determine the distance the vehicle would travel before the driver activates the brake. The vehicle will continue to move at 55 miles an hour during the perception reaction time of 2 seconds. So sabi dito, yung driver daw natin has a perception reaction time of 2 seconds. So it is also important to know that the perception reaction time varies from individual to individual and from situation to situation. Ibig sabihin, yung bawat individual may have different perception reaction time. So some might have longer reaction time and some may have faster reaction time. Or in some situations, pwedeng makareact ka ng mas mabilis compared to other situations. The first step to compute the lag distance is, of course, to convert all the values into similar or same units. So yung 55 miles an hour natin, i-convert natin siya into feet per second since yung perception reaction time natin is given in seconds. So 55 miles an hour will be multiplied to our conversion factor of 5,280 feet per 3,600 seconds. That will give us a product of approximately equal to 80.67 feet per second. So after we converted all values, we will now proceed to the computation of the lag distance, which is very simple. We just have to multiply the velocity to the perception reaction time. So in this case, we will multiply 80.67 feet per second to 2 seconds, which will give us an approximate product of 161.34 feet. Ibig sabihin, yung driver natin sa problem na ito will cover 161.34 feet mula nung makita niya yung accident hanggang dun sa pag-activate niya ng brake. Let's move on to the temporary factors affecting the physical characteristics of road users. So these factors are or can be considered as short-term or pwede silang magbago from time to time. First, we have fatigue or yung overall feeling of tiredness and lack of energy. This can result to loss of alertness. That is why it is very important for us to check ourselves before we drive or before we use the roads, because fatigue or tiredness can result to loss of alertness or reasoning or reaction time, which can cause accidents. For the next one, we have alcohol and drugs. Obviously, these substances weaken the driver's reasoning, reflexes, and motor skills as they affect our brain na nag-serve as our central processing unit. So this means that kapag yung brain natin is affected or tampered, yung actions natin will also be affected. We have here Republic Act number 10586, or also known as the Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Act of 2013. Dito to sa Philippines now. So this is a law that condemns drunk drivers and gives the law enforcers the power to fine and imprison drugged and or drunk drivers. Noong 2013, pinasa yung batas na ito to lessen the road accidents caused by alcohol and drugs, especially because Metro Manila or yung NCR, many of or a large portion of road accidents are caused by driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs. Next one, we have illness and disability. Yung illness and disability na sinasabi natin dito are just the temporary kinds of illnesses and disabilities, like yung headaches or yung difficulty in breathing caused by asthma. These illnesses can directly affect the effectiveness of the road user. So basically, it can affect your alertness. Parang gaya rin siya nung fatigue that can cause a decrease in alertness and reflexes of the road user. Next one, we have anger and other emotions that also directly affect a road user. In-specify ko lang dito yung anger kasi yan yung pinaka-obvious na emotion that can affect the reasoning of a road user. It can interfere with our reasoning and reflexes, as I said, yung anger and other emotions. Lastly, we have climate, season, and time. Yung climate natin, pabago-bago talaga siya, and also yung season natin. This affects the environment and by extent the road user. Dito sa picture natin below, makikita natin na parang rainy season siya. So during these times, mas prone yung road users sa accidents. Kapag naman mainit, gaya nitong nasa picture natin on the lower right, yung temperature naman yung kalaban ng mga road users. Especially with the presence of pollution coming from the smoke emitted by the vehicles, yung temperature talaga natin dito will most likely rise. Time affects a user in a daily basis. During the night, drivers are expected to be tired and sleepy, thus affecting their reflexes and overall capability to drive. Accidents are more likely to happen during the night, as the road users are expected to be tired and sleepy. And in addition, kapag gabi, masyadong madilim, so yung vision rin natin is also affected by time. And that's it. Thank you. The next reporters will be discussing yung mga hindi natin naisama dito. We have mental characteristics and psychological characteristics. We have environmental characteristics. And for the vehicular characteristics, meron tayong static and dynamic. And that's it. Thank you.